The librarian here, and I am going to answer the question of, well, what AI tools for research should I use? How should I use them? What about note-taking? What are methods for that, and why should I do that? And then what about reference managers? I'm going to scratch my nose. Okay, so first of all, note-taking. I'm going to start totally out of order. Note-taking, you can write stuff down, or you can take notes from a lecture, or you can even record them. I've seen some people do that where they'll put the little recorder down by the professor. All of those are designed to capture the moment while you're there, so you can review things and avoid missing something, for example. But there's another part of note-taking, and I'm going to go into the reference manager first, and then I'll show you how to take notes and then how to use AI tools. I knew there was some system that I had. Okay, so I went into a database, and I'm happy to show you this anytime you like. But I went into a database where you can sort by the number of times something has been cited, so you know it's the most important thing. And I looked up in the article title, note-taking. And I found an article at the very top from 2014. That's not too long ago. And I'm starting to find things. So the pen is mightier than the keyboard, advantages of longhand, writing it by yourself, over laptop note-taking. So before I get into any of this, with my note-taking software or my writing it down, I want to kind of capture my citation. So one thing that I could do with AI is you could say, grab this DOI. DOI is a document object identifier. And you could go to Google Gemini or any of the other ones and say, cite this in APA style. Put in the DOI. DOI is kind of a universally recognized open database of all the articles published in the last 10, 15 years. Awkward pause. I should have used the faster version of Gemini. And here's your citation. So one thing that people do is you can grab this really quickly and put it into your notes. Put it into your notes. Note-taking. This is Microsoft OneNote, but there's other note-taking software out there like Evernote, or even using Google Slides or something like that. But you can paste, and there I have my citation. For note-taking, if this turns out to be something good, what I'll want is to grab that salient text, or the text that means something to me. And I already read this, but we show that taking more notes can be beneficial, but this says a lot. In the long version of this, you can change the sizing of it and make yourself your own little bibliographic entry. So this is a quote, and then for note-taking, my own words, you pay more attention when you write it down, and you don't process it when you're typing everything. This is a synthesis exercise. That's why I have that right there. Is when you are taking information in, you have all of these different contextual points that you're using to figure out what matters and what exists and what's the thing that you need to know. So your professor, as well as me, we're going to say a bunch of stuff that's maybe irrelevant or doesn't matter to what you're interested in. So this is a great way of capturing this. Is there something that we can use that other than note-taking software where we could do this in a little more organized fashion? There are citation managers. One is called Zotero. I'll show you that first, and then I'll show you some other ones. Zotero.org is where you go, you make an account, and it saves all of the data on a cloud side of things. And then you can have these lists on in your desktop. And for each one of these, we've got a citation. So let me show you a way of doing a citation. I'm going to go back to that DOI. And you can have what's called a connector And I can help you set this up, or there's like a zillion YouTube videos about this too. But you can click on the connector. I'm in the folder, and it put in the article, "The pen is mightier than the keyboard." So let's go back to Zotero. Hey, look at that. All of this is all called metadata. Metadata is information about the article itself, the author, the journal, when it was published, etc., etc., etc. And you can go in and you can edit these things if you wanted to. But importantly, you can also add a note. Where do we add this note? New item note. It used to be called a child note. And what I could do is save that across multiple computers, where I could just grab text. And then as I'm going through making a literature review, I could have my little annotations. So like when I download something, I might not remember why I downloaded it later. And so I can see in the notes, oh, that's why I downloaded that. And then you could build your bibliography with this little mini database of your own articles, or the note-taking software, or all of them coming together. Here's another cool thing that you can do with AI. I was going to show you. Sorry about that. Again, if you email or if you go to Google and say, hey, what are note-taking software? There's like tons of things out there. My favorite's OneNote because we get it for free. But if you go to the library campus guides and type in citation managers, we've got a guide for that. But there, like I said, there's guides everywhere. So if you want to choose a citation manager, there's Mendeley, Noodle Tools, Zotero, EndNote. There's a whole bunch of different ones, and there's a whole bunch of different people you can reach out to. Many of these are free because they're consuming your data. They're de-identifying it, but they're using your data for metrics and things like that. So it's a benevolent, what do they call that? A symbiotic relationship where there's a parasite, but it's not killing you. This is Dale's commentation. So if you see an abstract for something and you're like, I have no idea what that means, you can go to an AI and you can say, tell me what this means, like I am a 5-year-old. Or you could say, or I'm like an academic, or like I am a Master's of Social Work student. And then you paste in the abstract or whatever text you're trying to understand. And what this is really good at is kind of crunching and reframing and turning things around. But this is a brainstorming tool. You would never cite AI because you might get different answers via different AIs, or depending on the time of day, or things like that. Writing notes by hand is better for learning the big concepts. We've got a lot of stuff. Isn't that cool? Again, you would never cite these things as a brainstorming tool. Another thing that you could do, here's our citation. Oh, by the way, if you ask for, I won't do this because it takes a while, but if you ask for a literature review in any of the AIs like Gemini or ChatGPT, it will make up hallucinations. None of the citations are correct. How you can tell is if they're missing the DOI, then it's likely that it doesn't exist. But if you can click on the DOI, it will always send you to the database or the publisher or something like that. So if you don't get this, it could be a hallucination. Another thing you can use AI for is brainstorming tools. So for example, I'm a master's student looking for research keywords regarding effective note taking. Do you have suggestions? And here it'll probably dip into like the education literature or psychology. I'm hoping synthesis shows in. Oh, cognitive load, encoding, external storage, generative processing, verbatim transcription. I never would have thought of any of these things. But if we go back into the databases and we do a search, I'll do a search at the library homepage. If I go to advanced search, I'm going to do, in quotes, cognitive load and note-taking. Hey, I never would have found that in a million years. Well, I probably would have found it pretty quickly. But you can use Gemini to give you keywords. Another cool thing you can do is you can say, ooh, these are all really good, and you can store them in your note-taking software. So let's do AI tools for research. I'm going to put that there. My note-taking synthesis, I might have put that. And then the reference manager is Zotero. This is not as dramatic as I thought it would be. One last thing that I want to talk about for the notes, is you can grab images. So if you do a screen capture, you can paste those in. You can also do a screen capture of an entire screen or a chunk of a screen, and you can paste those in. Think of it as like PowerPoint, except you can organize it by folders and files. So here's an image of something that I did on a big piece of paper, and then here's some AI. And then if we go to cynicism, here you can see where I put notes. And here's my AI, causes of workplace cynicism. So I don't take their word for it, but I look it up using the keywords that I found later. Does this help? I hope it does. Let me know how it goes, and welcome.